I am absolutely thrilled to have this conversation. I wondered if you will, Denis, if you could share a little bit about your background, because this is where people come in and they go, oh, well, my scientist says it's this way and your scientist says, and I'm just like, look, just let people know your background, and then we got a lot of questions to go through with you, my friend.
Okay. I'm also a claimant in a large constitutional lawsuit in Ontario that's run by the lawyer Rocco Galati. So I'm a claimant in that as well, on top of everything else. Yeah, I was a full professor with tenure at a major Canadian university for over 20 years. I was regularly an invited keynote speaker at international scientific conferences. I have published over 100 articles in leading scientific journals on many areas, including environmental science, soil science, physics, theoretical physics, and so on. So I'm a very multidisciplinary person. I was one of the most funded researchers in my faculty for a good while there. And now I'm a researcher, which is a volunteer position at the Ontario Civil Liberties Association. So I've done many things.
BC's new mask mandate requiring face coverings for indoor public spaces is being praised by those who have spent months calling on the provincial government to start ordering people to wear masks instead of just asking them to. Mask advocates are relieved.
The first thing that drew my attention was this nonsense about masks, because I couldn't believe that all of a sudden our own governments and health officials were saying that masks were a good idea in the face of decades of high quality science that finds absolutely no measurable benefit to wearing a mask. So that floored me. So I immediately wrote a paper about that and reviewed that quality, that policy grade science, and showed that you had to conclude that this was not a good idea, that there was no measurable benefit from wearing a mask. And that paper got me into trouble in a sense. It became viral. It was on ResearchGate. It became viral. It got over 400,000 reads on ResearchGate. And for the first time that I know of, ResearchGate deplatformed a scientific paper. They just took it down. I had to interact with them, find out what was going on. They ended up admitting that they took it down because it was getting too many reads.
Too many?
It was having too many reads. It was having too much influence from varied sources. And they were concerned because it was not aligned with the World Health Organization, so they took it down. And I've got all that on record. I've published that on archive.org, the exchange of emails and so on. It's just crazy. We're in a crazy time. It's never been so obvious that science is controlled, manipulated, censored, deplatformed, that the editorial boards and the peer review process, that there's a lot of corruption and there's a lot of alignment with powerful special interests. It's never been so obvious that is the case. It's really stunning to see the degree to which that is now apparent, where you have the Lancet having to withdraw these garbage papers that were basically scientific propaganda, right, and having to admit that they never should have been published. It's just never been so obvious. And in a sense, that's a good thing, because, science is far from this pure discipline that is based on knowledge. It has always been very political, especially since in the post-Second World War period, when they started introducing peer review. Peer review was never part of science before. In fact, Einstein submitted a paper to Physical Review, the main physics journal in the US, after he immigrated to the US, and he was shocked to see that they had sent it out to be peer reviewed, and he withdrew his paper and said he would never submit there again, and he didn't. Peer review, you have to understand, is this secret process. You're not told who the reviewers are, and the reviewers are in cahoots with the editor. Like they're saying things about you that you don't necessarily know. There's no transparency necessarily. They only show you what they want to, and they decide on that basis whether or not to publish the paper. So the peer reviewers are your competitors. They're your opponents. They're the people who have different ideas and so on. So you can imagine the potential for bias in a system like that. And it's been criticized by historians of science very severely and so on. It was actually explicitly brought in to self-control science so that you wouldn't get these challenges to what the establishment wanted.
But I do think, first of all, that there are a number of impersonal forces which are pushing in the direction of less and less freedom. And I also think that there are a number of technological devices which anybody who wishes to use can use to accelerate this process of going away from freedom, of imposing control.
Now, a quick disclaimer. I am not here to accuse all doctors or medical professionals of being involved in a massive death cult or a pharmaceutical conspiracy. To the contrary, most, no doubt, are good people that are just stuck in a corrupt and compartmentalized system. It is well known and admitted by most people I speak with that if you need emergency surgery, or you need to mend a broken limb, or need access to life-saving technology or expertise, Western medicine is second to none. Overall health advice, though, is a very different matter. And as I shall show you, there is indeed a very dark side to modern medicine and to the world of mainstream science in general that many are not aware of, we're not permitted to discuss, and few even know exist. And this must be exposed and discussed if we are to move forward in achieving optimal health as a society. It is only by going to the root causes of a problem that a viable solution can ever be revealed.